Hi, I'm Dr. Archer Crosley, and welcome to Real World Pediatrics. So today I wanted to talk about bullying. Now, we can't learn too much about bullying from the derivation of the word because the word bully comes from an old Dutch word, which is written out B-O-E-L-E, which means lover or sweetheart. Well, bullying hardly involves love. Now, over the centuries, the word has taken a dramatic shift to mean intimidation. Although there are still some examples in the English language where bully has a positive connotation, such as the expression bully for you or good for you. In essence, though, bullying is intimidation for the sake of stealing power. It is the attempt to lower someone's status or power to a lower level than that of the bully. Now, it's a common problem. And here's some stats on bullying, and I'm going to put them up on the screen there for you. About 19% of students aged 12 to 18 enrolled in grades 6 through 12 experienced bullying nationwide during the 2021 school year. Now, this is lower than it was at the beginning of the last decade, which was about 28%. Now, that's surprising. I thought it was going to be higher today. The prevalence of bullying is higher in middle school than in high school. That makes sense. And the prevalence of bullying is higher amongst female students than amongst male students, about 21 to 16%. Now, we all know what a bully is. A bully employs jokes, ridicule, critical comments, physical force, economic force, in order to gain advantage, either economic or psychological. Now, a classic bully would be the current president of the United States. We all know who he is. Now, this is not a political statement. Whether you like him or not, this is how the president operates. Now, there's no doubt about it. This is his modus operandi. He typically chops down his opponents with insults in order to put them on the defensive. And from that point on, he negotiates for what he wants. Now, as he engages in this intimidation, his supporters, far from being enraged, are instead gratified. Now, this is not surprising, as bullies often attract followers who invest their ego in the bully. The followers of the bully receive gratification through the bully. Now, why do followers engage in this behavior? Well, because more often than not, they were themselves bullied or they're being bullied right now. In the case of Trump, his followers, rightly or wrongly, feel that their own government either has let them down or has bullied them. Finding themselves in a weakened state, these followers gravitate to a leader who can heal their pain, as this president willingly does to the applause of his followers, who revel and scream with glee when he calls people names, makes fun of their facial features or their disabilities. Now, this phenomenon helps explain why children in schools today are often enough picked upon by a bully and his or her followers. Bullying, in too many cases, is an uneven event where many attack one. And yet, in a certain respect, it isn't. Since the followers of the bully are investing their ego into the bully, the followers are only as good as the bully. Defeat the bully and you defeat the followers. And make no mistake about it, the bully must be defeated. Bullies are often not deterred or pacified by discussion or rational analysis, because what the bully wants is not intellectual stimulation, but your power. He wants to steal your power. Now, unfortunately, in the school system today, children are often encouraged to tell their parents or teachers when they're being bullied in the hope that the bully will be counseled, which will result in an elimination of the bullying. And I have no doubt that in some cases this happens. Now, personally, I'm not quite sure that this in itself should be the total approach. Now, why do I think that? Because the child ultimately has to learn to fend for him or herself. The teachers can't protect the child forever. Now, some parents, unfortunately, have to move their child to a different school system because the measures implemented by the school don't always work. And that makes sense. Counseling and rational analysis don't always work because the bully himself is probably being bullied at home. He's being chopped or beaten down by his parents or another family member, and consequently he tries to build his power back up by sucking the power away from others at school. Now, the long-term solution, of course, is to stop the parents from bullying their son or daughter, but that solution doesn't fix the short-term problem for the person being bullied. Now, what will work is the bully paying a price for his or her actions. And simply put, the bully has to pay a price. Ignoring the bully often doesn't work. The bully often becomes enraged and bullies even more. Now, what will work is a slap upside the head. Now, it doesn't have to be a hard slap, but it needs to be firm enough to send home a message. The bully must learn that there's going to be a price to be paid for continued bullying. It's a simple matter of behavior modification. You bully me, I'm going to hit you back. Now, that's what will work. Now, let me tell you a story. This is my own personal experience. When I was a young boy, I was bullied in school. Now, I regret those times when I did not stand up to the bully. I remember those times for the rest of my life, and it causes psychological damage. Now, I won't go to a reunion today because I know if I go back there, I'm going to kick some butt. Now, I remember all the names of the people who bullied me, every one of them. But there was one time I did stand up to a bully, and I don't regret it. I was in 11th grade, and I was sitting on a bus going home in the afternoon. I was sitting next to my friend Bobby Hodgkinson, and we were talking. And behind me in the bus was a boy who lived in my neighborhood. His name was Dave, and Dave was much bigger than I was. Now, as I was talking to Bobby, I felt this jab in the back of my head. I looked back, and there was Dave, and he was smiling at me. He had this big grin on his face. And as I said, he was much bigger than me. He was strong too, and I wasn't that big at the time. So I turned back around and I resumed talking to Bobby because I thought, well, maybe this had been an introvert. You know, you try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Well, Dave jabbed me again in the back of the head, only a little more firmly. So I turned around and I looked at Dave. He had this big grin on his face, and I slapped him upside the head. And he was stunned for a second, and so was I. I was probably more stunned than he was. But then he got up and he came over to me. He was towering over me. As I said, he was much bigger than me, and he reached in, he started squeezing my head in, and I could hear these people in the bus screaming at him to stop, which to his credit, he did. And as we were exiting the bus, he turned around at me and he held out his hand for me to shake it. And we shook hands, and that was the end of that. And I learned a very valuable lesson that day. The advice given to children these days, I think, is not totally correct. And it's coming from someone who doesn't live in the real world. They want the student to just go to the authorities, go to the teacher, and I'm not sure that that's the total approach. Talking to a bully, I don't think that's going to work. Man is not a noble creature. Man is a beast, and the beast has to be dealt with. Now, that's why you're watching this show. I'm going to give you stuff that has worked for me and has worked for many other people. It's the real world, unfortunately. Now, I'm not recommending that your son or daughter do a Mike Tyson beatdown on the bully, but they do have to let the bully know that he or she cannot strike them, with impunity. And that's that. Thank you.